So Canada's the fastest growing population in the G7 last year. How does that impact the housing market? This we're going to chat about today. My name is John Passalis, president at Realosophy Realty. You can catch all my latest writings at movesmartly.com on Toronto's housing market. Find this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest videos. So a few weeks ago, this chart from the National Bank of Canada kind of made the rounds online, and it basically shows that Canada's population grew faster than any other country in the G7, just over 400,000 people in terms of population growth, which outpaced slightly the US. But of course, the US is 9 times Canada's size. So, even though we're outpacing everybody in absolute numbers, to kind of get a better sense of how quickly Canada's population is actually growing, it's better to look at population growth rates, which actually take into account the current population. And when we do that, this next chart shows the growth rates across the G7, with Canada in the dark red. And Canada's population has been actually growing the fastest in the G7 since 2000. But we can kind of see from this chart here that our growth rate really accelerated after 2015. I mean, Canada's population is growing probably twice the rate of other G7 countries. And, this certainly is one of the reasons why home prices are exploding really in Canada. The Bank of Montreal had just done this study a couple of weeks ago where they basically looked at, I think it was 18 countries, and they looked at the population growth rate in each country and the rate of appreciation in house prices. And this next chart basically shows the results. And in the bottom axis, the further a country is to the right, the faster their population is growing. And the higher up we are in the chart, the faster home prices are rising. So in the extreme top right corner, we see New Zealand with the fastest population growth and the most rapid price appreciation. But Canada's right up there with very, very strong house price growth and very strong population growth. And one of the reasons, if we kind of think about, well, why is there this relationship between rapidly growing populations and house prices? And we can kind of understand that a little bit better by looking at Canada's historic population growth along with historical trends for housing completions. And in this next chart, we can kind of see in the red, Canada's historic population growth is probably close to around 350,000 people and accelerated to just over about 500,000 over the past couple of years. But Canada's housing completions have been pretty flat. They haven't kept up. And the key takeaway here is that it's very easy for the federal government to ramp up population growth from 350,000 to 500,000 people, which is what has happened sort of under Trudeau's government. But the challenge is it's not so easy to build the extra 60,000 plus houses a year that we need at a national level to house this additional population growth. And that's the challenge. It's a lot more difficult to scale up new housing supply as quickly as we are scaling up our population growth. And a lot of people who argue that the only issue is more supply is basically making the argument that we could easily just accelerate our housing completions to 60, an additional 60,000, which obviously is a bit of a romantic notion. I mean, it takes time to escalate and accelerate, I should say, housing completions. And the reality is, supply is an important issue for the long term. We want to scale up housing supply, but the reality is we can't build fast enough to keep up this rapid population growth. I think in an upcoming video and a future report, I'll probably look at the numbers in Ontario more specifically to kind of better understand how many homes we need to build in Ontario to keep pace with Ontario's projected population growth. I hope this video made sense. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below or send me an email at askjohn@movesmartly.com.